It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along.
Well, I had to start today's broadcast off with that bombshell admission from Communist News Network, also known as CNN. But when CNN has to start admitting things like that about the Biden administration, you know things are really bad. I mean, this woman has been on his side and CNN has been on his side since day one. And now our economy has literally turned to crap. She mentioned a few things. Number one, voters trust Donald J. Trump more with the economy than Joe Biden because all of us are hurting. We have our rent prices or house prices have literally doubled since he has been in office. Our economic growth is down. Our real income is down when compared to inflation. And all Joe Biden can do is say everything is good. I already brought the economy up. So what he basically did is give the big fat middle finger to the American people and say, look, I hope you guys are loving Biden economics because I already fixed the economy. And the guy, I'm going to show a picture of his face up here, is just sitting there like twirling his hair. I honestly don't know if his handlers told him how bad the economy actually is, but it gets worse. Take a watch.
But there's real pain. I mean, grocery prices are up 30%, more than 30%. Since the beginning of the pandemic, and people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. I mean, that's a real day-to-day pain that people feel.
It really is, and it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend. It angers them and angers me that you have to spend more. For example, the whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it's on your
Same
program.
price for a smaller bottle of juice or something.
For example, Snickers bar, they did a thing, and it's like 20% less for the same price. That's corporate greed.
Never fear, you have money to spend, says Joe Biden. I know you've got the money somewhere. I can't believe they're actually admitting this on Communist News Network. But hey, you know, he goes on to the lie by the end of it and starts saying it's corporate greed. No, Joe Biden, it's your policies that are forcing all of this to happen. You know, all those handouts you keep giving to our college kids, to Ukraine, to Israel, to you name it. Everybody but, you know, worrying about our own economy. But that's not all.
Why should people here believe that you will succeed at creating jobs where Trump failed?
He's never succeeded in creating jobs, and I've never failed. I've created over 15 million jobs since I've been president.
He's never succeeded at creating jobs, Mike Easter. In fact, you have. What he failed to mention in that interview is, you know, a majority of those jobs that came back were due to job losses and coming back to work, you know, after the unprecedented pandemic. Oh, yeah. Again, you know what's bad if CNN is stating this. I mean, I think CNN actually had to admit the truth for once because the American people are dying financially, and they all know it. We're in a recession. I don't care whatever lie they want to tell you. We are honest to God in a recession. So much so that it is costing an insane amount of money to live the American dream. Take a look here. This is on Zero Hedge. It's actually written by Michael Schneider. But can you guess what it costs to live the American dream after 3 years of inflation under Joe Biden? Now, this is where I would absolutely love a chat room because I would love to see the numbers that people throw up. But in the meantime, let me scroll down to the actual number here. And it says, according to a brand new report that was just released, it now takes over $100,000 a year for the typical family to live the American dream in all 50 states. And 29 of those states, it actually takes over $150,000 a year. I can guarantee you many of the listeners out there are making nowhere near that. And God forbid you live in one of the states that, cost over $150,000 per year. But you know what? Things are so bad for the Biden administration that the FBI, right around the same time, by the way, of this interview, this disastrous, blunderous, embarrassing interview for the Biden administration came up from their own controlled network. Well, the FBI makes a big admission about a slick maneuver that they're doing, to save the Biden administration. The election's coming up. Take a look. And this is on thefederalist.com. FBI confirms that it's restarting online censorship efforts ahead of the election. God forbid you say something wrong about Joe Biden, because they're still raring to get him in office again. On Monday, Senator Mark Warner, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told reporters that federal agencies such as the FBI and CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, restarted discussions with big tech platforms. According to NextGov/FCW, this coordination will focus on, quote, removing disinformation on their sites as the November presidential election nears. Warner claimed these talks resumed in March around the same time oral arguments in Murphy versus Missouri, which centers on the Fed's censorship efforts, were heard before the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, I'm going to hit a pause button right there because in the Supreme Court, there's a case right now, and I've been sharing it in detail on restrictedrepublic.com. Hopefully you guys go there, check it out. But this is a Supreme Court decision that decides whether or not the federal government can, censor information in conjunction with social media platforms, right? Because they have been working with social media to censor what we can and can't receive, such as information on COVID vaccines, information on the election, information on Hunter Biden. These are things that they censored in the past. So this entire Missouri versus Murphy is deciding whether agencies are allowed to stay in touch with social media. That's the bottom line. And they're going to rule on it, I believe, sometime over the summer. That is the target date. But regardless of that, the Biden administration is now openly admitting and saying, yeah, we are going to work with social media to, censor content. It goes on, when pressed on the validity of Warner's remarks, an FBI representative confirmed to the Federalist that the agency has resumed communications with social media companies ahead of the 2024 election. Quote, here's their statement. The FBI remains committed to combating foreign malign influence operations, including in connection with our elections. That effort includes sharing specific foreign threat information with state and local election officials and private sector companies when appropriate and rigorously consistent with the law, the representative claimed. In coordination with the Department of Justice, the FBI recently implemented procedures to facilitate sharing information about foreign malign influence with social media companies in a way that reinforces that private companies are free to decide on their own whether and how they want to take action on that information. They're free to decide on their own. But here is the next.gov. CISA, FBI, resuming talks with social media firms over disinformation removal. And here, the Senate Intelligence Committee will be holding an election security hearing in about 2 weeks discussing just that. So the FBI says, yeah, we're talking to them in conjunction with the DOJ. We're working with these social media companies, in case foreigners come in, just like they told us in the past they were doing. Yet that's the exact opposite of what they did. Yeah. And they intervened and said, you're going to take off this information. You're going to take off this information. You're going to remove this information. Oh, and these people, by the way, we don't like the fact that I think Tucker Carlson or Dan Bongino, one of them, were getting attention on a post and they asked to have it restricted and not be seen. But hey, they're free to decide what they want to do. Yet, we found out through the Twitter files and many other reports that that's not happening, that they were actually being harassed by the government into doing their bidding, even though it was a choice. It wasn't really a choice because they threatened them with Section 201 being removed, and among other things. The FBI should not be doing this, and neither should the DOJ or anybody in the Biden administration. But they're deathly afraid of what's going to happen in 2024, and they're deathly afraid that Donald Trump may win the election. So they got to take precautions for disinformation over the internet. Wow. Coincidentally, right around the time that Joe Biden makes an idiot of himself publicly. I created all these jobs. No, you didn't. They're jobs that were rehired after the pandemic, when they were fired. When we were under Donald J. Trump, we were a hell of a lot better. So much so that CNN had to call it out. Anyhow, wanted to bring all of that to you guys. As a quick reminder, get on over to LisaHavenGold.com. Make sure you are protected from these blubbering idiots like Joe Biden, shall I say, who's completely screwing up our economy. Now is the time to make sure you have gold and silver and precious metals. Hey, and guess what? They even ship gold and silver to your doorstep in boxes that nobody knows what they are. And you obviously have to sign for it, but they'll send it to your house. So please make sure you have something other than the US dollar. You're diversified. If you want this gold and silver investment guide, go to LisaHavenGold.com. Fill out this information right there. Click get it now, and they'll send you that gold and silver investment guide. Better yet, give them a call at the number on the screen below and talk to one of their free consultants. They're no hassle, and they'd love to speak to you. And by the way, right now, with every approved plan that they have, they are giving away this 1/4 ounce gold coin that you see on the screen here. This thing is absolutely amazing and beautiful. Kind of got it with my nails there. So make sure you mention my name when you call them. If you want more information, click that more button on your cell phone or click the link in the description box below. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.